In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
What do you say? What do you say? What do you say?
And we gonna do what we gotta do.
Get this thing rocking and rolling. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing? Appreciate you joining me once again. It's Thursday, April 30th, 2026. Almost made it through another whole week. I appreciate it, you guys, taking the time out to spend it here with me a little bit. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make it worth your time. Make it worth my time. Doesn't cost you a dime. So what do you say? I appreciate you guys. Thank you to everybody in the chat that makes this possible. Why don't you let me know in the chat where you're watching from? Let me know if you're watching from a certain state, a certain region. You don't have to get too in particular, right? You don't have to get too detailed, but let me know if you're inside the United States, outside the United States. Shout out to everybody and wherever you're watching from. I really do appreciate it. We'll let everybody filter in as they normally do. What do you say? We say hi to the chat as everybody's making their way through the door. What's happening, guys? What's going on, Twiggy? What's going on, mods? Appreciate you, one and all, for all that you do, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Substack, the whole nine yards. I appreciate you guys for making this show possible. And then, obviously, to the best fucking chat on the planet, Olga, Gamer, Jamie, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, Tamra. What's up, WW? What's up, Twiggy? What's going on there, Chief? How are you? What's up, Tina? Appreciate you guys. What's up, Lee? I see you over there on Facebook. You can't hide. You can't hide. What's up, Patui on Twitch? What's going on, guys? What's up, Greg on YouTube? Appreciate you guys. Human Being is in Tucson, Arizona. We got Tennessee, Akron, Ohio, Toledo-ish. That works. That works. I'll take it. Flint, Michigan. I love it. I love seeing the different regions that everybody's watching from. I really do appreciate it. Palm Coast, Florida in the house. $7 a gas, California. That's a good description. Sorry, Tamra. Our apologies about that. The gas station across the street from the house here, we've been kind of keeping tabs and watching that go up and down, more up than down, obviously, over the last couple months. But that's gone from $3.59 to the next day $3.69 to the next day $3.79, and now today it's at $3.98. Damn near $3.99, because I think it's $3.98 and 9/10 for a gallon of gas, up to about $5.20-ish for diesel. Somewhere in the $4.49-ish range for premium. What's up, Charlotte, North Carolina? Appreciate you, Dame Dog. What's up, Nebraska? What's going on, Houston? I see you over there, 250. I see you, 250. What's up, V-Soy? What are you paying? $3.90 in Memphis. $3.90 in Memphis. $4.59, says Old Man Ray here. $4.60. Might as well be $4. Where's 460, human? You just told me, didn't you? You just told me. My apologies. I'll catch up one of these days. I'll catch up. Who else we got in there? What else? What are you guys paying? What do you got? Who's paying what in their region? I'm curious. Like I said, it's $3.98 outside. Some people might want $3.98, like we're hearing in the chat here. $4.60, $4.59, over $4. So it looks to be a theme, obviously, unless you're in California, and then you're really, really paying the price. Wayno says $4.19 and up here yesterday. $3.66, Handy Girl, huh? $3.66. Where's that at? Everybody needs to be driving down to wherever Handy Girl is, getting the good deal on the old gasoline. $5. What's it? $3.75 Costco in Florida. Somebody just chimed in. What was the other one? Oh, $5 in Ohio there. Appreciate you pointing that out there, my man. Great leaf. Look at that leaf. That's a giant one. Damn. Shout out to you. Appreciate that. 520 in Portland. Yeah, the West Coast paying for it big time right now. Paying for it big time. But I was surprised to see that much of an increase. I mean, we keep talking about this, and I know it's kind of already to a certain degree kind of been normalized, like the ridiculous rise in the price per barrel of oil, obviously in a gallon of gasoline. Like we've become used to it already, which is crazy to think. But to see it go from 59, 69, 79 to 98 in just a matter of days is a wild thing to see. It really is fucking crazy. So you can see that the market manipulation attempts by Donald Trump don't seem to be working as far as that's concerned. But we got a lot to talk about today. Appreciate you guys letting me know where you're watching from. Love you guys in the chat. Respect you all in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. Make it worth it. There is a Venmo up in the corner. If you have a buck or two lying around somewhere, if you find a couple quarters between the cushions and the couch, you can send it into Venmo right there. A buck or two, like I say. Anything above and beyond that's totally up to you guys, depending on your financial situation. We just ask that if you find some benefit in the show, if you find yourself coming back and watching, if you like and you subscribed and all that, and you do have a dollar that isn't taken away from any other aspect of your life, to throw it in if you can, because we try to do it the independent route. I know we say this all the time, but it's just part of the business here, where we don't hide anything behind a paywall. We don't charge for any content, so I have to continuously remind everybody that it's with your contributions and generosity only that we're able to continue doing this. So there's YouTube memberships just underneath me. There's the whole patreon.com/Boston Brian, which people have been absolutely fantastic and so goddamn supportive, especially in including, I should say, the people over here on YouTube and Twitch and everywhere else. It's just, I don't want to put too much emphasis on one point, but you guys all do a lot to help this community. You guys all do a lot to help this show keep running, and I do want to make sure that you get the show of appreciation that you guys deserve. A lot of these other channels and places that you guys go watch give you great content, but they're also interrupting you 25 times during the live stream of the video to sell you some juice or some fucking weight loss supplement or something that you don't necessarily need or probably doesn't work in the first place. I try to, I vowed never to do that. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to say that you need to have a dollar in your pocket to see this bit of content, to hear this bit of information. If it's important and you should, have every right to hear it, then there's no reason for you to pay for it in that regard. So I appreciate the people that have been very supportive of the show. Lots to talk about today, too. Obviously, we're going to be getting into the SCOTUS decision and discussing that, kind of learning about that together, what that means, what we can expect as far as ramifications going into midterms. The other states that have now kind of hopped on this, we've talked about Florida. I think another one was Texas, and there's others now that are trying to kind of use this to their benefit. So we'll be discussing that. We're talking about Donald Trump's phone call with Vladimir Putin, and then immediately threatening to take the United States troops out of Germany. It's a whole thing. It's ridiculous. I guess he forgets that Vladimir Putin is responsible for helping the Iranians target United States bases and kill United States, military armed force members. I guess he forgets all of that, not to mention everything that Vladimir Putin continuously is doing in and around Ukraine. Stories coming out of Ukraine as well. More strikes from Russia inside of Ukraine. Unfortunately, we'll have to cover. But obviously, if you guys haven't heard, Ukraine has been doing one hell of a job at hitting these oil refineries at different ports that Russia needs to sell their oil, to make sure that they can profit off of the oil that they have. So not only has the Two Ops facility been burning for about 3 weeks at this point, but we also have another oil refinery, another strike, this time really deep inside of Russia. I think we were talking about, and we showed yesterday, a video of a Ukrainian drone taking out, I believe it was an Mi-28 helicopter. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but we saw the guy that was working on it, and I think that was some 150 kilometers behind the lines there. We're talking about some 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers behind the front lines that this place was struck. So that's going to be something we're going to have to dive into. There's going to be more Lego drops. The Lego drops just don't stop. So we'll be taking a look at a few of those. We got more from Hegseth's beat down in Congress. So a couple clips from yesterday. I believe he's actually, taking it up the ass right now in front of Congress again. So we'll kind of see if we can catch up on the clips that are probably happening live as we're on right now. So we got that to come. Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, James O'Brien speaks on on the royal visit and also, Trump's new Germany threat and threatening to remove the troops out of Germany. We got Jen and Pumps discussing Erica Kirk's latest meltdown. And then, like I said, Ukraine's latest strikes deep inside of Russia. So lots to talk about, lots to cram into a couple hours. So if you could hit that like button, if you appreciate the show, if you find yourself watching for a good amount of time, you like what you're hearing, you like what you're seeing, please at least hit the like button. If not, subscribe and hit the like button. You can also share the show out. All free things to do. Doesn't cost you a single cent, but goes a long way to help us in the old algorithm. So appreciate you guys in the chat. Thank you, WW. Thank you, Deb. Oh, thank you guys already. Deb in there gifting a membership in the chat. I see you, Deb. Thank you so much. And then Vinny Demon 1374, Salem in the house. Let's go, brother. Appreciate you, Vin. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much for that kind contribution. Starting it off in the right direction today. Like I said, I know you guys are spread thin, right? I don't think this is something that a lot of podcasters, a lot of live streamers will talk about, will bring up. But I know you guys are spread thin as a chatter myself, right? Like I come from the chats. I watch all of these different accounts and stuff like that. So, I recognize that a lot of the places that you watch are demanding you guys to contribute, to support, to buy the merch, to do this, to do that, buy this product and, use this QR code, you code this. I understand. Like everybody's trying it. Everybody's asking you for something. So I know there's only so much, that you guys have to go around. But I just ask you, like I say, if it's not robbing or taking from another aspect of your life, if you don't need it for medication, if you're not thinking about the $1 or $2 tomorrow that you could have really used it for something, those are the people that, I continuously ask if you have it to please contribute. Venmo, like I said, is the easiest and most direct way, but, you can throw it as a super chat in the old Chatsky there. There's gifting. You can gift memberships. And like I said, YouTube memberships underneath me and patreon.com. BostonBrian.com also for the merch shop. So appreciate you guys. Thank you, Vinny, and thank you, Deb. Started off in the right direction today. We got more in there too. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Patrick. You guys are fantastic. I appreciate you guys. I really do. All the love, all the support. It is very meaningful. It is very impactful, and it definitely helps keeping me going because there's a lot of days doing this shit. Where you end the day and you look in the old coffers and you see like a $2 contribution in there. It's like, is this worth it? Like, am I going to find myself in the gutter at some point trying to do this? And then there's days where you got beautiful people in there like this, just contributing right off the jump. So, all right, let's get into the craziness. Let's get into the nonsense. What do you say? Thank you guys again, everybody that's donated in the chat there. And again, at the end of the show, we highlight, congratulate, appreciate every single person that gave or you hit their membership milestone, anything like that. So make sure you stick around to the end if you did contribute. So thank you, Patrick, and everybody else. Very much appreciated. All right, let's throw this on your screen. Let's get into the SCOTUS ruling here. Let's see what the hell is taking place, what we can expect, what this is going to look like going into midterms, what states are trying to use this to their advantage to make this even worse of a situation. This is just a quick ABC news clip, just kind of getting everybody up to speed, up to date, giving you the generality of the story here. And then there's a democracy docket article here that I did think was pretty well written and kind of gives a good detailing of what we need to see here as far as information in this ruling. So we'll take a look at that after and just see if we could hop right into this one from ABC. It's just really quick. I think it's about 2 minutes long. Like I said, just giving you like the general outline here. Please hit that like button. Like I said, my name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Thank you to the best chat on earth. Thank you to the best mods on earth. Couldn't do it without you. Let's hop into it.
On the air because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision which could have a profound impact on the midterm elections. The justices issuing a ruling on a case out of Louisiana involving the Voting Rights Act, redistricting, and whether states must end any consideration of race when redrawing congressional maps. The decision potentially reducing the influence of minority voters and minority representation in Congress. Let's get right to our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin.
Kira, this decision is 6-3, written by Justice Samuel Alito, and it's a significant decision and a setback for the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1960.
And again, sounds like another fucking piece of the pie, piece of the puzzle that we could put in there for a case to expand the Supreme Court, right? We should have Democrats out there demanding the fact that we need to do something with the Supreme Court based off of the rulings that we've seen from this, based off of the power disadvantage seen right now in the Supreme Court and kind of the detriment to society that it's led to. So again, I'm all for the expansion or any other ideas that anybody has right now in order to claw back power as far as the Supreme Court is concerned. And again, that seems to be, just another example of why we need to take drastic action as far as that is concerned when and if we do inevitably take back power, and how much power we take back and how we utilize that power.
5, which was passed to guarantee equality in how we vote. And of course, addressing the systemic and historic racial discrimination, especially across the South. This decision came in a case out of Louisiana involving a court-ordered drawing addition of a second majority black district in that state because of the size of the state's population. And the Supreme Court today, in this decision, said that the court violated the 14th Amendment by adding, the state rather, violated the 14th Amendment by adding that district. They used race impermissibly, consciously, to add a second district to aid those voters. And they said that is simply not allowed under our Constitution. Justice Samuel Alito didn't go as far as saying race can never be used in drawing these maps. That's something the court has affirmed before to comply with the Voting Rights Act, but he put a significant new limit on how courts can order states to draw their maps to be more equitable. He said that Section 2 imposes liability only when evidence supports a strong inference that the state intentionally.
So how many were involved in that one? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different states. New map redistricting in progress, which is Florida. We talked about considering redistricting, which is South Carolina, Maryland, Louisiana, Kansas. The new map we talked about, California one that dropped redistricting was just Indiana and New York, as far as I can see on this map. But again, I'm no constitutionalist. I am not a lawyer. I am not a Supreme Court aficionado. So that's why I rely upon, sources and reliable sources to kind of break this stuff down for me. I felt this kind of did it in a pretty good way. This is a Democracy Docket. I forget the guy's name. My apologies now for the guy who runs the Democracy Docket. I'm sure you guys can tell me in the chat. To inform the chat, but my apologies. But this was written by Jim Saska, as it says here, and this says Republicans rush to redraw electoral maps just hours after SCOTUS guts Voting Rights Act. So I just wanted to go through a little bit of this with you if I could, and just kind of get up to speed, up to date on, like I said, what happened with the ruling and what other states are trying to do as far as using this ruling to their advantage. So I just want to go through a couple paragraphs of this if I could. So it says, mere hours after the United States Supreme Court guaranteed the Voting Rights Act safeguards against racial gerrymandering, Republicans across the nation, both particularly in the South, called on the GOP legislators to redraw congressional maps ahead of November's midterm elections. Florida was already working on a newly gerrymandered map, which passed both chambers' hours after the court's decision in Louisiana versus Calais was announced on Wednesday. But as the ink was still drying on the Supreme Court's opinion, many Republicans rushed to catch up on the Sunshine State. Marsha Blackburn, who is running for Tennessee governor, posted a picture of an all-red congressional map of the state, writing, "I urge our state legislator to reconvene to redistrict another Republican seat in Memphis. It's essential to cement at-real Donald Trump's agenda and the golden age of America." Her primary opponent, Rep. John Rose from Tennessee, made a similar call on X, saying that one district held by Democrats there should be redrawn to the GOP's advantage. Memphis deserves Republican representation in Congress, he wrote. Today's Supreme Court ruling paves the way for that. Yeah, he also said, now it's time for an Alabama legislator. Excuse me, this is by Barry Moore. He says, now it's time for the Alabama legislator to act and redraw these districts the right way, fair, constitutional, and representative of our communities, said U.S. Rep. Barry Moore, Republican from Alabama. This was echoed by Alabama Republican Party officials. We should have new districts as quickly as possible. In Georgia, State Senator Greg Dolezal said that also he was calling for a special legislative session to redraw the maps. So we're talking about several states here that are looking to use this to their benefit. But it does go on to say that it may be too late for many of these states to act ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Mail ballots for the primaries have already been sent out in every southern state aside from Tennessee and Florida, and lawmakers in those states would need time to draw, introduce, debate, vote upon, and enact new maps. Alabama redistricting before its May 19th primary would be a practical impossibility, given that it's already sent out the mail-in ballots as required by the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. Georgia's primary is also May 19th, while Louisiana's is May 16th, meaning both states have likewise sent out ballots ahead of the UOCAVA's 45-day pre-election deadline. Moreover, early in-person voting is already underway in Georgia, while it begins May 2nd in Louisiana. So even though Louisiana could quickly revert to the map it adopted before it switched to the court-ordered one that was struck down in Calais, it likely to say, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, that's what I'm getting from that. I may be using my World War II references too much as far as that's concerned. It's likely still too late for this year's contest. Still asked whether the states would redraw its map before early voting begins Saturday, Donald Trump told reporters afternoon that I would. So you again can see how Donald Trump's trying to impose this as soon as possible to have as much impact on the 2026 midterms, whereas this is saying that based on the deadlines, based on the timelines and the mail-in votes, the mail-in ballots that have already gone out, it's unlikely that these states that he was talking about here would be able to implement this in the timeline necessary to have it impact the 2026 midterms, which is a good sign, which is good news. Obviously giving us more time to take back power and obviously try to mitigate the damages done here. This says, given these deadlines, some Republicans want states with rapidly approaching primaries to quickly delay them so their legislators can enact new maps before the midterms. Still, any last-second change would create huge logistical hurdles for election administrators in those states and incur large, unbudgeted for costs. On top of practical challenges, whether these states can redraw their maps without unintentionally costing Republican seats, a so-called dummy mander, remains to be seen. So much like we talked about how the Republicans were basically redrawing districts down in the South, assuming that they would have a large Latino, favorability. They thought that they were gaining, and they saw in some of the polling that they were gaining in favorability in the Latino communities. They saw some of the people that were showing up to the Trump rallies, but that inevitably was wiped off the map. That was kind of erased immediately to a certain extent by what we saw ICE continue to do, what we saw, the actions by DHS and Kristi Noem and Dan Bavino and all these assholes. So now they're scrambling behind the scenes to try to make up for that loss that they originally thought that they had guaranteed to them. So this is another way for them to kind of fight back where they know they're going to get their asses kicked. This says, on top of practical challenges, whether these states can redraw their maps without unintentionally costing Republican seats. So basically the fact that, even if they were trying to do this, they're so goddamn stupid. They can't even be trusted to do it in their favorability, to their benefit. Because there has been times where, as he calls it here, a dummy mander happens where they actually screw themselves in the end. But this says many of the congressional maps in these states already favor Republicans heavily. Tennessee currently has 8 safe Republican seats and 1 Democratic seat in state where Kamala Harris won over a third of the vote in 2024. Alabama has 2 majority-minority districts, with 1 created in 2023 after the Supreme Court upheld the VRA and struck down a map with just 1 seat, while returning to the 2021 map would likely net Republicans another district in Alabama. Trying to eliminate both majority-minority districts could backfire. President Trump's approval rating is historically low, and the party out of power, Democrats, usually performs well in midterm contests. A recent Strength in Numbers Verisight poll found that just 35% of United States adults approve of Trump's job performance, while 61% disapprove, and the disapproval runs deep. 55% of U.S. adults said that the House should vote to impeach Trump, while just 37% said it shouldn't. While it may be too late to tilt the scales ahead of the 2026 midterms, Republicans will have ample time to redraw maps before the 2028 elections. One analysis by Fair Fight Action and Black Voters Matter found that gutting the VRA could eventually help Republicans flip as many as 19 seats. So you can see how damaging this would be. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Democrats could also redistrict in these states they control. Freed of the VRA's constraints, Democratic gerrymanders in the states like New York, New Jersey, and Illinois could reduce or even completely neutralize the GOP's gains in the South. That said, it would come at a high cost, the further erosion of minority representation in Congress. So obviously a give and take to be had as far as that's concerned too. So at least there are ways to fight back, but definitely something that not only gives us ample ways or reasons, I should say, to scream about, revamping the Supreme Court, adding some seats. What do we have to do to the Supreme Court to make it so that they don't have this ridiculous favorability to make sure that they can hinder, harm, and control society the way they're trying to do here, and obviously voting as the way they're trying to do here. But just for us to keep an eye on another part of the craziness, another part of the nonsense that we have to keep an eye on. We've been talking about, Donald Trump and the Republicans and their plans, their ploy behind the scenes to try to enact some change in the 2026 midterms as well. So, it's like we got to be like a spider. We got to have eyes all over the goddamn place. But that brings me to our next topic, our next ridiculous topic of conversation, which is basically the fact that Donald Trump is out there. Let me just throw this up there. This is Donald Trump talking about his phone call with Vladimir Putin. This is a little NBC clip that I put up where they were just kind of discussing this as well. But the fact that Donald Trump again is applauding or talking about how great or how perfect the conversation was and all this bullshit with a guy that is widely known for helping the Iranians target United States bases to help target United States troops is mind-blowing to me. But this is just a real quick NBC clip, and then there's one clip here from Trump from yesterday's little press gaggle that he had in the Oval Office where he's with the Artemis II astronauts, and he was asked about his phone call with Vladimir Putin. So I want to see if we could play that as well. And then we have a couple statements, a couple clips here from him on his Truth Social site as well. So let me just throw this on the screen. This is just a real quick minute, 34 seconds from NBC, just kind of talking about Trump and his phone call with Putin. But would be really good if I did throw it on your screen so that you guys could see it, not just me. So that'd be perfect. All right, here we go. I'll throw this. Let's start it from the beginning.
I want to talk first about his conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, in which they discussed both Ukraine and Iran. The president alluded to the fact that Russian President Putin had said he wanted to be a part of the solution when it came to Iranian nuclear.
Batui says, does he ever have an imperfect phone call? It's true statement. I got no notes, no comeback for that one. You're absolutely right, Batui. He's never had one yet. That wasn't perfect.
Enrichment, however, the president said, in fact, he wants to focus more on ending the war with Ukraine. Walk us through what we know about this conversation, how long it went on, and what prompted it.
As we understand that, it's been lasted about an hour and a half. Then this was a surprise. We didn't expect the president to speak with Vladimir Putin today, and he did talk about that the subject of Iran came up. He did also speak that the main focus of it was the ongoing war in Ukraine, which has been a source of frustration for President.
And again, it doesn't say, as far as I've heard, you can correct me if I missed it, but it doesn't say who contacted who. Right. So does this, is this Putin reaching out to Donald Trump to try to help mitigate some of the damages that are now being done to his different oil refineries and ports all over the place now? Like he's trying to extend some sort of help. He wants to help in the Strait of Hormuz situation in hopes that Donald Trump would, do something to help him in the war against Ukraine or to stop Ukraine from targeting, Russia's oil, whatever it may be. But, a 90-minute phone call with Vladimir Putin in which the president of the United States didn't once bring up the fact that they were helping the Iranians target United States bases. They were using their intelligence. They were using, what they've learned as far as their war against Ukraine and helping Iran try to get around the United States air defenses, to get around the Iron Dome, to strike inside of Israel, right? Like if Donald Trump actually gave a shit, if he gave two fucking flying fucks about Israel at all, you'd think he'd be saying something to Vladimir Putin. If he gave a fuck about this country or the people in it at all, or our soldiers or our military, you'd think he'd brought that up at some point, maybe? No, none of that in a 90-minute phone call. Just about Iran and Ukraine, but you didn't bring up the fact that he was assisting in hitting our bases. That's play. At any moment, you can play. Today? No.
Trump, who has, in essence, bragged that he has brought to an end several conflicts around the world, but the one that has seemed to elude him, especially because he talked about ending it so quickly after he took office, is this ongoing war in Ukraine. The president saying he spoke with Vladimir Putin about this. He asked him for what he called some sort of a little ceasefire in the ongoing war. We have no indication that Vladimir Putin is planning on announcing any such thing. But the President Trump, also talked about that Vladimir Putin offered to help the United States perhaps take some of the enriched uranium outside of Iran. President Trump didn't seem to suggest that would be in the cards, but he did confirm that President Putin and himself did talk about the ongoing war in Iran throughout the span of their hour-and-a-half long conversation.
Yeah, it's funny what they didn't talk about as opposed to what they did talk about. And then there's this clip here again where he's asked about his phone call with Putin and what he talked about. And this is his answer here, just about a minute clip.
So you spoke to Vladimir Putin not too long ago. Did you talk to him about
today?
Did you talk to him about the progress in the space area, and what else did you?
I didn't talk about space. No, I talked about Ukraine, and I talked a little bit about Iran. I talked about a few different subjects, mostly about Ukraine, and we had a very good conversation. I think we're going to come up with a solution relatively quickly. I hope.
What was he?
I think we're going to come up with a solution relatively quickly, I hope. Now, does that instill any confidence in anybody? Does that seem like, they even discussed the fact that there shouldn't be any more, missiles and drones flying into Ukraine? They shouldn't be on Ukrainian territory any longer. You think that came up in conversation at all? Because I doubt it did. I doubt it.
He'd like to see a solution, I can tell you, and that's good.
What involvement does he want to have in the Iran situation?
He told me he'd like to be involved with the enrichment if he can help us get it. I said, I'd much rather have you be involved with ending the war with Ukraine. To me, that would be more important because we're gonna have that. Look, we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
Again, zero pressure whatsoever put on Vladimir Putin by the president there. But what he's not not telling you that he probably talked about as well, depending on when the transcripts come out and if we see him at all, is the fact that almost immediately after that, or sometime after that, Donald Trump decided to go onto his True Social shithole and talk about how he's going to take out the troops from Germany. Let me see if I can throw this on your screen. Let's see. This was, let's see here. Was it this one? Was it this one? Yeah, right here. United States is studying and reviewing the possible reduction of troops in Germany with the determination to be made over the next short period of time. Thank you for your attention to this matter, right? Something that, Vladimir Putin would drool over. Vladimir Putin would love to have that happen. All right. It seems to be a gift almost to Vladimir Putin. And it's just strange that it came after a 90-minute phone call, right? Not only the disruption into, NATO countries, right, but also the fact that there would be less United States troops in Europe, close to where Russia is, close to where Russia would like to take over, has been said by them for a long time, them trying to reestablish the USSR. So again, it's crazy that, just mere, hours after the conversation between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, we're getting, suggestions like that and comments like that by Donald Trump on his True Social shithole. It's crazy. But then there's things that you talk about as far as that's concerned, like this. Let me see if I throw this on your screen too, because let's see, I think this was James O'Brien talking about, was it this one simultaneously, or was it this one? About a billion things. There's too much that goes on. I think it's this one right here. I'll throw this one on your screen. So we'll take a look at this one because this is why pulling U.S. troops out of Germany goes beyond punishing their leader, right? So I just want to see how other people are reacting to the fact that Donald Trump is now threatening to pull U.S. troops out of Germany, again, after a 90-minute phone call with Vladimir Putin in which he put absolutely no pressure on Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine, to stop what he's doing, to stop the killing, to stop fucking lobbing missiles and drones into civilian areas every single night, as we will have to cover, unfortunately. None of that. But this is just a quick clip from James O'Brien and I think Simon Marks, his Washington correspondent. Throw this on the screen for you.
I dread these moments in one sense, and in another sense, I look forward to them almost more than any other moments on the show, because there's every possibility, particularly when we've been conducting a conversation that demands the highest levels of concentration and resistance of any distraction from me, there's always a chance that when I come to say to Simon Marks, "What's up, Simon?" he's going to drop something on me that I'm previously unaware of. Such is the nature of Donald Trump's administration. What's up, Simon?
Well, there is a bit of breaking news that is up, James, as we come on air. The supreme leader in Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei, has issued a statement saying the only place Americans belong in the Persian Gulf is at the bottom of its waters.
Oh, no.
That's the first thing we've heard from the supreme leader in several days. There is, of course, continuing uncertainty.
Now, does that sound like a country or a leader that's ready to capitulate? Right? Does that sound like a guy that's ready to come to the negotiating table? If in fact, that is the statement coming from the leader of Iran, that's what he said. Does that sound like somebody that doesn't feel like they have the upper hand in this situation so far? I don't know, just a thought that crossed my mind as he's saying that, the entirety of the United States deserves to be basically at the bottom of the sea.
About the nature of the injuries that he received during the early attacks on Iran that also killed his father, the former supreme leader Ali Khamenei, and other members of the new supreme leader's family. But this comes 24 hours after President Trump told a reporter from the website Axios that he is considering resuming attacks on Iran in a bid to try and force them back to the negotiating table, because that strategy has worked so well over the course of the last 8 weeks. But that's where things currently stand on Iran. The other thing, of course, that is up is the sudden social media posting by the president last night. And let me remind everyone, the King and the Queen are still here. They are due to be returning to the White House this morning to bid a formal farewell to the president and the first lady. But even while they are here, even while the King's very carefully well-crafted rebuke to President Trump and everything that he stands for in that speech to Congress is still echoing through the halls on Capitol Hill, President Trump last night announced the United States is studying and reviewing the possible reduction of troops in Germany with a determination to be made over the next short period of time. That is because while the King and the Queen have been here and our focus has been on the nature of our bilateral relationship with the United States, the U.S. relationship with Germany has taken a catastrophic turn after Chancellor Friedrich Merz made a speech earlier in the week saying that the United States was being humiliated by Iran.
It's just true.
Saying that he believes that the United States and Israel began their war on Iran on February the 28th without any kind of plan.
So you can see this like childish back and forth that's taking place. Donald Trump frustrated, doesn't like what the chancellor from Germany had to say as far as telling the truth, looking at the reality of what's taking place on the ground and just calling it like, the strikes and balls that he's seeing, right? So like James said, it's just true. It's just true. They are being humiliated. We are being fucking bitch slapped at every turn by a country that supposedly has no military, supposedly has no navy, supposedly has no air force, that has been, their leadership has been eliminated, has been eradicated. But still, we find ourselves on the shit end of the stick here with gas prices, oil prices, the Strait still closed. We get the Bab el-Mandeb Strait being brought back up again. If the United States and Israel decide to again continue to strike inside of Iran. But this is like, they're laughing at people at this point. So you got Donald Trump now threatening to remove troops from Germany because he doesn't like what the chancellor had to say in one of his speeches. As, again, the king and queen of England are there. In the king's speech, he talked about the necessity for partnerships, the necessity for, camaraderie and community as far as NATO is concerned, partnerships with Ukraine, how much rhetoric matters as far as being a leader. Obviously, the president of the United States. And then Donald Trump immediately gets on a 90-minute phone call with Vladimir Putin, decides to fucking go on Truth Social and demand, at least threaten the removal of U.S. troops from Germany. It's just like, there's no fucking getting through. Obviously, it's like the complete and total opposite of everything that was like not expected of him by the king and queen, but like, tried to coach him into doing. It just immediately no dice.
He sees no strategy whatsoever, no strategic plan on the part of the United States to find an off-ramp to this conflict. And that, of course, is now leading directly to the president threatening to reduce the size of the American troop force. There are 36,000 American troops stationed in Germany, 6 separate garrisons, 40 separate military installations, including, of course, the Ramstein Air Base and the Coordinating Strategic Command Center in Wiesbaden. This is exactly the kind of move you would be taking, not only if you wanted to punish the German Chancellor, but if you wanted to begin the process of withdrawing from NATO, and, of course, parenthetically, you wanted to deliver a massive win for Russian President Vladimir Putin. This, the reduction of forces from Germany, is exactly the kind of action you would be contemplating, again, hours after the king made his speech on Capitol Hill saying, NATO Article 5, the only time it's ever been invoked was when America was attacked by 9/11.
So as you heard him say, right, a clear gift for Vladimir Putin, right? Something that, you know, if you were hoping to gift Vladimir Putin a victory in some instance, like this would be one of the places that you would gift him a victory, right? Dissension among the NATO ranks, obviously the removal of troops that have been there, you know, since World War II, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like when we're looking at, you know, Donald Trump's contact and phone call with Putin, exactly what he's trying to do here, his recent threats against NATO. Like, people are looking at this all around the world like this is madness, right? This is you know, this is fucking about as insane as you could possibly get from a government at this point in time. So he's spot on there. But what he brought up in the beginning was also right when he started talking about the Strait of Hormuz and the possible, you know, military buildup and escalation that we're likely to see, that Donald Trump's been continuously threatening, that Pete Hegseth has been threatening, that the Israelis have been, you know, reaccruing their target packages inside of Iran for more targets that they could strike. Well, I saw this. This was on as I was checking out the price of oil, which is, we might as well check that out while we're on here. Oh, shit, this is probably going to refresh where I was at. But 113 for Brent. No, 110. Let me throw this on your screen since you can't see it. It's probably good. Where Brent is at 110, WTI at 105. But I saw this. This is what I wanted to go in here. This is talking about the possibility here. U.S. military buildup signals risk, rising risk of wider Middle East war. And this is by the Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. And this is just the part that I wanted to show you here in this. So it says, holding off the Houthis down here, a couple paragraphs down. It says, if hostilities break out again, Yemen's Houthi rebels could attempt to close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, another crucial route in the Middle East, right? So how long have we been talking about this? How long have we been saying, hey, somebody better look at this. Somebody better make sure that we have some like mitigatory resources and policies in place, because if they close the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb, like the pressure on the world economy and the rise in prices is going to be astronomical. Right. So this says accounting for around 6% of the world's seaborne traded oil, the Bab el-Mandeb is a narrow passage for ships entering or exiting the Red Sea, whose Yemeni coastline is largely controlled by Houthi rebels, a U.S. designated terrorist organization and armed group backed by Iran. In a statement on April 18, Houthis threatened to close the strait and called on Trump to stop all peace obstructing practices and policies. We covered that on the show. Right. And I think not only is it 6% of the world's seaborne traded oil, but it's also about 12%. If I have my facts and figures correct, about 12% of global shipping also passes through that as well. So, you know, you add that on top of the amount of global oil that passes through the Strait of Hormuz, and obviously the pressure that's been putting on different economies and, you know, parts of the world, us included here. You can see the damage and how exponential the rise in cost could be. You know, when people are talking about $250 a barrel, this is kind of the situation that they envision, you know, is kind of an instance where we could see that happen. So depending on how, if it happens and how long it takes place, you can start to see those ridiculous rises that we've seen, even above what we've seen so far. So, you know, from what Simon Marks was just saying there, and the potential risk and Donald Trump's statements about kicking this thing back off as far as escalation, as far as strikes, This is probably something that we're going to see in retaliation. It's been threatened many times already. It's been brought up many times already. And it's just kind of, the time is just nearer every second here as to when they're going to finally enact that control and finally either start striking inside the Bab el-Mandeb or putting mines in there, whatever it is they do to try to control that. But it's definitely going to be a huge problem for the world if they do, in fact, do that. But let's move on here because there was a couple more clips that I wanted to show you from, or at least one more clip that I wanted to show you from yesterday's ass kicking that Pete Hegseth took. I mean, this was pretty brutal to the point where I don't have the time or the energy or the resources to show you all of the clips in which these different representatives got in there and decided to slug it out with Pete Hegseth and came out on top. Pete Hegseth, again, backed into a corner a bunch, having absolutely no answers, didn't know facts, didn't know figures. Again, with the Joe Biden, with the whataboutisms, with all the bullshit lines and talking points that come from people like Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio, anybody that's in this position that doesn't have an answer to give and doesn't want to, from their perspective, lie under oath, even though they do it every single fucking goddamn time. They decide to go after like the Joe Bidenisms, the Kamala Harrises, and like I said, the whataboutism. This is another one from Rep. Keating, where he says, "This is the most convoluted bullshit I've ever heard in my life." And this is part of a pretty good ass kicking that he gave Pete Hegseth yesterday. So I figured it would dive into this. And I know Pete is, I don't know if he's still currently sitting down, but I'm sure there's going to be more clips to come out of not only yesterday, but today's interactions as well. So let's dump into this one. And again, this is Rep. Keating, just kind of going after Pete Hegseth in yesterday's meeting.
The Department of Defense Law of War Manual specifies that any order to kill shipwrecked in an illegal order would constitute a war crime. Without any warning or expectation, this small Ecuadorian fishing vessel, operating about 200 nautical miles, the Galapagos Islands, was militarily engaged by U.S. forces. It was hit once, then it was hit again. 2 drone strikes. Survivors described chaos and severe injuries. Our U.S. forces then handcuffed the crew at gunpoint, placed black hoods over their heads, seized and scrubbed their devices, and then held them for days. The crew was released. No evidence to support any narco activity. We struck a vessel, struck it again, set fire to it as it was sinking, drank their beer, detained the survivors, and then we let them go. This should be eye-opening. Let's go to another example, the double tap that took place on September 2nd in the Caribbean. A vessel struck, disabled, and then struck again, killing all but 2 survivors, clinging to the wreckage. And the Defense Department still refuses to release the follow-up video of the killing of the shipwrecked survivors, even though they released the initial one to the public. Fingers were pointed at one another as everyone scurried to cover. In a tacit acknowledgement, this was an issue potentially violating international law. The phony rationale, these attacks are about fentanyl trafficking, when we know fentanyl comes from China, India, through Mexico. Then the baseless argument that this was about narco terrorism. I don't believe a word of it. This was to create leverage for regime change in Venezuela. And now the president acknowledged that was about oil. It's important for us to discuss what the U.S. belligerence in the world stage means to our security, our ability to marshal cooperation with our allies, and most importantly, not to normalize these actions that could endanger the lives of our own service members put in similar peril. Whether it's these particular strikes discussed here, whether it's the 178 other killings, each of these extrajudicial killings, the administration is pirating American values. They hurt our military and they hurt our standing internationally, and they're hurting our standard here at home. I hope that we can move forward. I hope we can review whether these are justified, because I found no justification. We were given classified information on the second strike. I can't discuss it. It's the most convoluted bullshit I ever heard in my life. This should be public. This is our honor. This is what it makes American a difference maker. This is what we're proud of.
It's an incredible array of false accusations.
And I yield back my time.
So a very good use of time there by Rep. Bill Keating to bring up just some of the points, just some of the facts, just some of the figures there in which, Pete Hegseth has failed in his leadership role, has lied to the American public, has lied to Congress, and continues to do so. So like I said, there was a ton of clips coming out of that yesterday as well, and I'm sure there'll be a ton more coming out of today's interactions as well. So on the upcoming shows, I'll be sure to catch you up on those. We're going to be kind of all over the place from here on out, out, though. So there's a few other of these clips that I wanted to show you. This one was pretty well done. This one is by Brittany Page, a friend of the show. We've had Brittany and Jesse on the show before. She does fantastic work, and they both do the podcast, the I Doubt It podcast. If you haven't subscribed to that, if you don't listen to that, you probably should. Jesse obviously has the Dollar More Daily that he does, and Brittany has her own YouTube channel as well. So you should definitely check out Brittany and Jesse as well for the stuff that they do. But she kind of broke this down a little bit as far as the bullshit that's coming from the right, as far as toning down the rhetoric on the left, and the left being responsible for, the political violence. And ever since the White House Correspondents' Dinner, it's kind of been the right attacking the left as far as being responsible for that and all the other nonsense and bullshit that we know. Well, she's done a pretty good job, and there's another clip after this that we'll go through. It's about 6 minutes of Donald Trump and his violent rhetoric and shit that he said in the past, basically calling for, violence against Democrats, violence against the media, people to be punched, people to be kicked, people to be shot, the whole 9 yards. So after this Brittany Page clip, we'll show that one as well. But she does a pretty good job at coming after somebody that I think it's Ainsley Earhart she's talking about, and how she has the balls, she has the hypocrisy inside of her to talk about Democratic rhetoric and people talking about, Donald Trump being a fascist and authoritarian. Meanwhile, she sits next to Brian Kilmeade and people on Fox News that actively call for the killing of homeless people, just the removal from this country of people of color. They want homeless people to be put away in these camps. They want them sent to different countries. They want them rounded up and put in prison. All of the things that we know Fox News has said, but the hypocrisy of Ainsley to come on here and be like, yeah, it's definitely the Democrats that are the problem. But Brittany does a pretty good job at calling this out. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger on the screen. Started from the beginning. Turn on the sound, and we'll see what she has to say.
Is making Melania's advisor is making the rounds now, doubling down, saying, no, we want to see Jimmy Kimmel be fired.
Well, he responded last night. What does Melania think about that? Is she buying it?
It's done. It's over. Jimmy Kimmel should be terminated from ABC. And I think ABC needs to determine, is this the type of person and violent rhetoric that it wants to affiliate with?
Unbelievable snowflakes.
ABC has been protecting Jimmy Kimmel now for a long time. This isn't an isolated incident. It's been going on and on and on. And the problem, as you're very well aware, is that there are crazy people out there who are listening to this violent rhetoric, this terrible political oriented violent rhetoric, and they're turning it into action. So for the third time now, our president has had his life at risk.
Yeah.
And it's because of this rhetoric. There's no doubt about it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. It's almost become normalized. People are laughing about this.
She said, people are laughing about this. Yeah, because you guys are laughable hypocrites.
Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say.
I would like everyone to note that Ainsley didn't immediately say, wow, that is inappropriate, Brian. That is dangerous rhetoric. That is horrible rhetoric. That is violent rhetoric, sir. We're going to need you to apologize for that. She asked like a follow-up. Like, how are we allowing this to happen about, homeless people being in the streets? So Brian Kilmeade said, just kill them, about people that are forced to live on the street amid a affordability crisis in America, while Donald Trump takes $400 million from taxpayers to build a ballroom. And I guess that's just common decency, according to Ainsley Earhart.
And again, that's just one part of this, right? We could do this all day long as far as the rhetoric from the other side, examples of violence from the other side. And it's ridiculous for them to, discount the data that we already know, discount the fact that not long ago, it was considered white Christian nationalism and white supremacy was considered the biggest threat that we now faced inside of our country. But there's things like this that have been put together as well to kind of, combat the bullshit rhetoric from the other side and what they've been trying to say and the blame that they've been trying to put on people on the left for telling the truth, for actively and rightly calling a fascist, for rightly calling an authoritarian, for rightly calling a piece of shit. right? For calling a racist, for calling a bigot, for calling a fucking, a transphobe, for somebody that doesn't like, all of these things. They're rightly called these things for a reason. And we have, different pieces of evidence to support all of that. It's not like we just say it to say it because we like hearing ourselves talk, or we like the hyperbolic rhetoric, as you like to call it. No, it's because of what you've said is based on facts. It's based on events that we've seen with our own eyes. And things like this that we could put together. This is, again, the 6-minute clip. We don't have to watch the entire thing, but it says here's a long montage of Trump calling Americans who don't support him the enemy from within, vermin, calling to shoot through the fake news media and other violent rhetoric. So, again, just a touch of some of the things that we could point at as far as, the rhetoric coming from the other side, and Donald Trump in particular.
Knock the crap out of him, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees. I promise. I promise.
We have the enemy from within. And the enemy from within, in my opinion, is more dangerous than China, Russia, and all these countries, because if you have a smart president, he can handle them pretty easily. I got along great with all. I handled them. But the thing that's tougher to handle are these lunatics that we have inside, like Adam Shifty Schiff. Think of this guy's going to be a senator. He's running against a guy that doesn't understand politics at all, Garvey, but he was a good baseball player, but he doesn't understand politics at all. Adam Shifty Schiff, who's a total sleazebag, is going to become a senator, but I call him the enemy from within.
Well, revenge does take time, I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified, Phil. I have to be honest. Sometimes it can.
But is the country better or worse for them going after you?
I think the country is really worse for what they've done.
But all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much.
Somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much, right? I mean, these are like the definitional uses of stochastic terrorism, right? When you call an Adam Schiff, the enemy from within, people that are vermin, they're scum, they're an existential threat. As we rightly call Donald Trump to democracy. He says that about people that he has no evidence to support that claim. He just says it because he does like hearing his voice, because he hears it being said to, about him and other people on his side. So he has to throw it back at the other people because he has nothing else to go with. It's the same thing. Like I said, this is nearly 6 minutes long.
I don't mind. I don't mind that.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. When they I think the real number is 15, 16 million people into our country. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison.
So again, when he goes out there and he says they're letting this many people into the country, which is poisoning the blood of our country, what do you think the message that sends to the people that are listening, right? Like, if there's an existential threat to you and your way of life and your country, and this side, these people are responsible for bringing all of these others in, ruining your culture, people, you know what I mean? Like, don't you think that somewhere there may be a psychotic son of a bitch that may try to take matters into their own hands, like we've seen multiple times before? Regardless of the situation, regardless of where it is in this country. I mean, we could talk about multiple instances in which, a psycho has done something to take matters into his own hands. Like, it doesn't take much, and it's language and rhetoric just like this, and not the fact that we're rightly calling a fascist who has fascistic policies, who has enacted fascistic policies, who talks, acts, walks, and looks like a fucking dictator. Like, that's not us making that up. That is not us, like, stoking up the, it's not us kicking up the dust just to, for shits and giggles at this point in time. Like, look at the policies, look at the laws that have been taken off the books, look at the laws that have been put on the books, right? Look at the shit that he said, quoting Mein Kampf, basically quoting Hitler in several circumstances. Like, it's going after the brown and black communities, going after the trans communities, going after the LGBTQIA, stripping women of their rights and ability to control their own bodies. Like, I mean, that's what it is. When you set up concentration camps in your own country, when you take over warehouses to house people in, by the thousands, by the hundreds of thousands. I mean, what else do you expect to be called? So don't expect like a change in tone. Don't expect a change in rhetoric. Don't expect us to be using different words because you're crying fucking wolf again. No. You're the snowflake. Stop being a bitch. If you can dish it out, you got to be able to take it as well. And if you can't defend against what we're saying, then you might as well shut the fuck up.
Mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. The terrorism is going to be, and then we built a tremendous piece of the wall. And
again, the threat of terrorism and crime and harm done to you and your communities. Again, he's trying to make people step up. He's saying that, nothing can be done, but something should be done. And if our government can't do something, maybe you should try to do something. I mean, that's, again, stochastic terrorism definitionally right there. So, again, like I said, that's 6 minutes long. We don't have to go into, that whole rigmarole because you know what he said. You've heard it before. We've covered it on the show. And, again, we know that we have all of the facts and the evidence behind us for what we say and how we say it. But I don't know if J.D. Vance has been asked that question recently, right? Caroline Leavitt might want to ask J.D. Vance how he feels now about calling Donald Trump America's Hitler. But that brings us on to this, because is the MAGA coalition breaking, right? And I'm not talking about the podcasters anymore, guys. I'm not talking about the podcasters. This is a CNN clip here that I saw, kind of in line with the few clips that we've watched over the last couple of days of people in, I think it was Indiana, the last one, that were really upset about their energy costs that were doubling, tripling, in some places quadrupling, to a higher extent than their rent, their mortgage. Right. But they were crying about it. Meanwhile, they voted for Trump 3 times. Meanwhile, it was a heavily Trump populated district and stuff. So tough to have empathy, sympathy, and compassion for people that voted for it. Well, there's another one here. And I was just curious, what they were talking about, what they were finding. It says, is the MAGA coalition cracking in a key battleground? And I believe this is in rural Ohio. It says, is Trump MAGA's coalition cracking? A report from rural Ohio. And I just want to see if we could jump into a couple minutes of this to see what people are saying, what people on the ground are saying, and what realizations they're coming to. Let's see here.
And one giant question. Is Donald Trump's MAGA coalition cracking? Entering Ohio, the Mahoning Valley. Gritty, blue-collar, union, reliably Democratic for decades. No more.
People like this, places like this, are part of how Trump has changed America. Ohio changed from a competitive purple state to a Trump red state because of the magic of his coalition here. But as we head into the midterms, the jobs he promised are not here. The revival in American manufacturing he promised is not here.
Chris Anderson is the Mahoning County Democratic chairman. His midterm bet? Enough Trump voters will be part of electing Ohio's first Democratic governor in 15 years and part of flipping a critical Senate seat from red to blue.
They got conned by a con man. You're the Democrat, so you're...
And what do we talk about, guys, right? What do we talk about? What's the important thing heading into midterms? Hal brings it up all the time. Red to fucking purple, purple to blue every time. So we can go from red to blue. That's even better. And it's because of the failed promises that haven't been delivered in these rural areas that went out of their way to vote for Donald Trump, to believe the promises that were delivered to him, to go against everything that we have been yelling and screaming from the fucking rooftops as far as the lies and everything that we saw in the first administration and what we could expect from the second administration. But we're hearing it here from rural Ohio, talking about the fact that they're going to go from, or there's a possibility they could go from red to blue, based off of the things that they haven't seen, the stuff that they haven't received based off of the promises of Donald Trump. So again, his own rhetoric, his own words, and the stuff that he campaigned on coming back to bite him in the ass. And it seems like, people are I don't know, I hate to say finally waking up, because I don't want to make it seem like it's like this like revival of people coming to their senses, but it seems like more and more people are likely to be coming out of this funk, or more and more likely to call out the lies and the bullshit and the promises that haven't been delivered than in years past, right?
Supposed to say that. What do you see that tells you
that things are different?
Well, I mean, drive around Mahoning County. For 8 years, there were Trump signs on every corner. There were flags. You couldn't go to a grocery store without seeing those red MAGA hats. I'd challenge you to find one.
It's true, these are hard to find now. Maybe a clue, but hardly enough to answer the is MAGA cracking question. This is local.
And I think that's consistent throughout the country too, right? I don't think this is just like a rural Ohio type of thing. I think there's a lot of people in different parts of the country that were fucking out there flying their MAGA flags that had the signs in the yards and Trump blow up dolls flying all over the fucking place. Not too likely to have those things in the yard anymore. You know, they still exist. You know, they're there because they made themselves very known when they did have all this shit out in front of their houses. But, you know, it's very few and far between now that you're going to see somebody willing to represent to that point still. It doesn't mean they don't exist, like I said, but they're just not likely to be that overt as in years past, which is, again, I think another clear indication as to the cracking of this MAGA base, which is, again, the ultimate goal of this podcast, the ultimate goal of me, I should say, is basically making sure that we see the demise of this MAGA cult, making sure that we see the eradication of all of the policies, the beliefs, and everything that MAGA cult was built off of. So again, if we're just starting to see like the formation of the cracks in the base, we've been talking about for a long time, the cracks that have formed inside the podcasters and the commentariat and the bases, the political podcasters themselves. But now it's starting to filter down to people that are seeing that they've been lied to. They're now being affected in the wallet. They're now paying more than ever before, and they're using that as justification to say that they're now coming out of this cult that they've been in.
1112 United Auto Workers, Lordstown, Ohio. Ground zero in the local debate about trusting Trump. General Motors made cars here for 5 decades, thousands of good union jobs, but the Lordstown plant closed in 2019, despite a first-term Trump promise it would stay open. Foxconn built this new factory on the GM site, but its workforce is non-union, and the factory is mostly idle now as the company decides what's next. Nearby, another new factory sold as Lordstown's new hope, Altium Cells, a joint EV battery venture between General Motors and South Korea's LG Electronics.
How many guys are working in that factory now?
Right now, all of production is shut down. 1,460 of us, I think there were. We're all late.
That's not what Trump promised. He said there was going to be a boom in manufacturing. All of these jobs were going to come back. We were going to have plants and factories built up the wazoo. We had trillions coming in investments from different countries and corporations all over the world. What the fuck happened? What happened? It's strange that none of that came to fruition, like we said.
Paid off in January 5th, officially.
And you don't know until when?
Don't know till when.
Bob Swager leads the campaign committee at Local 1112. Everyone here remembers when Trump told them not to sell their homes, and later when he said new jobs would replace the GM jobs. The union endorsed Kamala Harris, but a big chunk of its voters voted Trump. And then the UAW endorsed Trump's tariffs.
They were hopeful that they were going to bring more jobs back to the United States.
Has that happened?
Not that I'm aware of.
Manufacturing employment is up a bit of late, but down 80,000 jobs overall since Trump returned to the White House. American auto manufacturing down 25,000 jobs in Trump's second term.
Well, again, that's the complete and total opposite. The complete and total opposite of what he promised and exactly what we told you to expect. Exactly what we told you to expect. Everything that he was promising you, expect the opposite, right? Everything that we saw in his first term, just double the problems, right? And double the cost, double the issues that we had, double the fraud, double the corruption, if not more at this point. So manufacturing and employment jobs, 80,000 jobs down in Trump's second term. Manufacturing, 25,000 jobs down in Trump's second term here. And again, people are feeling those impacts. People are feeling the crunch. And again, you add in the rise in energy costs. You add in the rise in gas prices recently, the price of groceries, clothes, you name it. And again, it just makes things even worse and makes it ever more apparent that the lies that they've been told, right? So that's why I think more and more people are using this time or having this time to come out of their shell, so to speak, their MAGA shell.
Do you believe in 2026 the Democrats can actually win statewide for the Senate and win statewide for governor in Ohio? Yes.
I mean, that was a pretty quick yes, right? I mean, that wasn't somebody that had to think about it. There was no, maybes if possible, like if this happens or if that happens. It was a yes. Can a Democrat in a red district win in a red state? Could they win, for House and the Senate here? You know what I mean? So again, that's showing you, people on the ground, real people in this country, how they feel based off of the people in their communities, the conversations that they've had, what they're hearing other people say in the coffee shops, in the restaurants, right, at the bars and stuff like that. So that's basically how you knew he was going to come out. The fact that he came out and said yes so quick should give you an indication of, the conversations that are being had behind the scenes.
Mark Skenesny served overseas in Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan, was drawn to the Tea Party and then Trump after leaving the Army.
I let myself, I don't want to say get radicalized or anything, but I was very right-wing.
Skenesny had a change of heart in 2020, calls himself an independent, and is backing Democrats this year because he now views Trump and MAGA as dangerous to democracy.
I've talked to a lot of people whose views are changing, even in my own family. So I am hopeful that is starting to fracture.
Well, this isn't just like hopes and wishes, okay? This isn't fucking prayers and dreams. This isn't just rhetoric right now. This is actual people, actual stories. People, again, call it whatever you want, coming out of the clouds, recognizing that they've been lied to, recognizing that they've been propagandized, whatever turn of phrase you want to use. These are real fucking people. And as he says here, this guy, it's people in his family that felt the same way that he did, that are also taking the turn, that are also recognizing the harm, the hurt, and the danger that have been posed by this second Trump administration, right? So again, these are people on the ground. This isn't pundits. This isn't guesstimates. This isn't predictions. These are actual people. Again, much like the woman that was at the gas station in Pennsylvania that called herself an idiot for voting for Trump and believing all the lies. And again, it took for her not being able to afford to fill her gas tank the entire way, rather than January 6th or the 34 felony counts or anything else that Donald Trump's been involved in, the corruption, the degradation of the NATO allies, all of the shit that we could name and talk about. None of that was enough. Try to steal the election. You know what I mean? It's like none of that was enough, but because she couldn't fill her gas tank that specific day, she recognized and realized that she had been lied to. So for whatever reason they're starting to use as justification, you can now see it more and more.
Yet Skenesny concedes many Trump supporter friends will not budge.
And it's a lot harder than what I thought.
And again, that's going to be the sycophants left that we always talk about, right, guys? That I've brought up a billion times. Those are going to be the people that were surrounding Hitler in the bunker in the final fucking days in Berlin, right? That's going to be those people, the people that you're never going to be able to get through, the people that are going to stick with Trump till the end. They're going to ride down the fucking Titanic, until it hits the bottom of the sea. There's just no way. There's just no way for them to get out of it now. They've cost themselves too much, whether it was jobs, careers, family, friends, whatever it may be, right? Scholarships. A lot of these people have tossed these things out in order to continue supporting Donald Trump and the Republican Party because their friends and family don't agree with them. Now they haven't talked for 10 years. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard the stories and have probably gone through it yourselves in the chat with some of your friends and some of your family members and coworkers and stuff like that. So I'm sure you guys know firsthand as well. But, those are going to be the people left at the end, kind of holding the candle when this thing all burns to the ground as far as the MAGA cult is concerned. And they're going to be kind of left looking for something. And there's going to be no leader. There's going to be no movement left. There's going to be nothing, but these people are inevitable, and they're going to get more sycophantic as the time goes on, as it becomes more and more apparent that Donald Trump's decline, MAGA's decline, is on the horizon right now and is something that we're clearly looking at in real time. They're going to be more and more likely to try to defend it, to lie, to obfuscate, and to make sure that they try to keep it alive. But we're here to make sure that we step on that neck as long as humanly possible. All right, let's just see here. This is the next thing that I wanted to get into because this is, again, detailing the likelihood that we see escalations in Iran before we see any negotiations or a peace deal or the stop or the end to this war. This is Kagan Dunlap is talking about how U.S. CENTCOM is requesting for deployment of the long-range hypersonic weapon Doc Eagle to the Middle East per the New York Post in Bloomberg on 30 April 2026. And again, as we always say, our Crimson Tide quote, I won't say it here. We'll try to keep it family friendly, but you know the quote that I'm talking about. You don't necessarily order the deployment of long-range hypersonic weapons unless you intend to use those long-range hypersonic weapons, especially in the Middle East when we're talking about Iran. So this is just a real quick Instagram post about this, just kind of detailing, again, the U.S. CENTCOM's request for long-range hypersonic weapons. And again, that's not boding well for the escalations or where we're going here with the war in Iran.
According to an article by Bloomberg and also the New York Post, U.S. Central Command has submitted a request for forces to the Pentagon for deployment of the Army's long-range hypersonic weapon nicknamed Dark Eagle, which would be the very first time it's been operationally deployed. Apparently, the key reason for this is that Iran has reportedly relocated ballistic missile launchers deeper into its territory, placing them beyond the effective range of the PRSM, which is the precision strike missile that the United States has been using, which is still also in development as well. Has approximately 300 miles plus distance that it can reach. But Dark Eagle's got a much longer range, which would allow strikes on these hardened or distant targets without having to send like actual fighter jets in there.
So apparently the reporting is that Iran has moved a lot of its launch sites, further inland as to, make it more difficult to hit, make it so that, if they do send up, the U.S. does send up jets or drones or missiles, they have to travel a longer distance, have a more likelihood of being shot down, getting off course, whatever it may be. But this is now looking like, kind of a reaction to that by the United States. To make sure that they don't have to put jets in harm's way to go and fly that distance over Iran, to make sure that they hit the new sites that the launchers are at now. So probably why they're now requesting these long-range hypersonic weapons, the Dark Eagles. So again, doesn't look like that we're likely to see a peace deal or the end to this war before we see these things actually in action. But just kind of trying to read the cards here. Because we're not getting any true answers, any clear depiction of where this is going. So we're left to kind of sift through the bullshit and pick up the pieces and try to come to some determination of what's going to happen based off of those facts. So that's what we're trying to do here.
To conduct strikes. The Dark Eagle is basically a ground-launched boost glide hypersonic weapon that accelerates to hypersonic speeds and then releases a maneuverable common hypersonic glide body that travels at Mach 5+, which is over 3,800 miles per hour, while maneuvering in the atmosphere. It's got a reported range of approximately 1,720 miles or more, although some sources say that it could be even further, like it could be up to approximately 2,175 miles. Nobody really knows because that stuff's not public information, but obviously a large distance. Now, the Dark Eagle is still in development right now, and it's been like early fielded. It hasn't really been fielded just yet, but they're still requesting for it to be deployed operation.
So it hasn't been fielded. It's still under development and testing. So does that give you an indication as to the, how desperate Pete Hegseth, the Pentagon, and the U.S. military is to get these things in action, right? Before it's probably been properly tested, before it's been put through, any sort of training or action to make sure that it could be accurately, trusted and depended on as far as what it needs to do. Obviously, we've talked about the depletion of the United States munitions, the THAAD missile interceptors, the Patriot missile interceptors. We've talked about how many of the Tomahawks and different, again, munitions that they've expended in this and what the stockpiles are down to, and how we've had to stop shipments to some of our European allies. Some of the weapons platforms that they were expecting, we have to say, nope, you're not going to get those. We need those for ourselves now. We've actually stolen or robbed, whatever you will, some South Korean batteries from South Korea that were made to, protect them against Kim Jong-un and North Korea. We've had to relocate those. We've actually had to utilize some of the Ukrainian know-how and knowledge as far as, air defense systems and making sure that the Iranians don't have an effective, the effectiveness that they've had at striking U.S. bases in the area. So again, this kind of it reeks of desperation, right? It reeks of a military that is again engaged in a war they didn't expect to be engaged in, to be expending munitions that they didn't expect to be expending, and not having the proper replacements, not having the proper plans in place to mitigate those those expenditures. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of one aspect, one piece of the puzzle that we try to look at and be like, okay, what's on the horizon? What's likely to come? right? What state is the United States military in? Are they lying to us about the capabilities, the readiness, and how prepared we are at fighting a prolonged engagement here? Because the United States military and their stockpiles basically is not just a single battle military, or the percentages they need in their stockpiles isn't based off a single battle, but multiple conflicts in multiple regions of the planet at the same time. And if they can't do that, that's a big problem. Right, because like we said, if they're engaged with Iran and China decides to kick off with Taiwan, or Kim Jong-un decides to do something stupid with South Korea, or any of these two-bit fucking dick pots around the world decide to utilize the chaotic moment on the geopolitical stage to do something stupid, and we have to send in the U.S. military, you'd like to know that we have the stockpiles there to do it. And right now, there's no trust in that whatsoever, based off of the percentages that we're seeing. But that brings us on to, this next topic, which, again, is a little bit more lighthearted. There's a few more of these. The Lego drops just don't stop, ladies and gentlemen. I can't get away from them. You just can't get away from them. You can't keep up with them either. There's just no way. There's at no point where you've seen all of these videos. Again, there's so many different accounts now putting these out. I try to stick to like the main players, the ones that have been putting out the bangers the longest, so not as to get too lost in the weeds on these ones, but there's a few more here that I wanted to touch on as well. This is talking about reducing American taxes. This next one is, I want to say, about Trump and Putin's call. Already a Lego video talking about Trump and Putin's phone call. And then there's one more here, I believe, about Donnie Don't. So we'll see what that one's all about as well. So, all right, let's get into this one. This is reduce American taxes now.
We've been calculating across the sea. We don't understand the math.
Oh, we got an R&B vibe.
We see what you earn. We see what they take. We see what you get back. And we ask each other in our own languages.
How is the richest nation in the world sucking the blood out of its own people?
You are the hardest working people we've ever seen.
You should get to keep more of your pay packet.
We are saying it because no one in your government will say it to you.
Reduce American taxes.
Now.
No, lower American taxes now. The people are tired, they don't know how.
To pay the electric bill, to feed the kids, to buy medicines, to make the bids.
Yeah. Cut OS taxes now. Let the people be. Let the people dare themselves to live in their own land without the burden of the system.
We see the check you cash every other Friday. We see the taxes you ain't even seen. Federal, state, social security, Medicare too. When you get it in your pocket,
there's a little Twister vibe. We got a little Twister action going on.
So what they going through, you pay a gas tax, pouring gas in your car. You buy a sandwich for lunch and you pay a tax on a lump.
And again, I don't know about the lowering taxes, but I do understand the gist of it. And I think it's pretty spot on as far as, what we pay in taxes and what we get in return for those. And obviously the detriment and degradation to society as far as, roads, bridges, railways, healthcare, pay as far as like the workers are concerned, comparative to the CEOs and what they've gotten as far as, equality and pay and that whole thing. But it's, the message is on. I don't know about reducing the taxes. I think, would have to go taxing the rich would be another, way to go about that. You know what I mean?
You pay a tax on the house that you don't own. Cause you see the bank owns the house and they ain't paid yet. You pay a tax when you buy a car, then the tax to register, then the tax every year to keep the car like a stock in the state's investment portfolio. You're forced to invest in the pothole, still bigger than the dollars you pay. You pay a tax on the phone bill, on the cable, on the internet, on the gas, the oil, the air, the phones, the TV. They tax you when you make it and they tax you when you pay. They tax you when you die on your inheritance. 40 cents of every dollar goes to the government and you think it's for schools and roads? You think that's what they told you? Well, look at the budget.
No, again, I appreciate the message as far as that one is concerned, but I think it would be, it would have hit harder if we did like a tax the rich, eat the rich, make the wealthiest people in this country pay their fair share so that we could have the things that they were saying that we didn't have as far as that was concerned. But it's Legos, it's Iran. You can't expect them to know everything. You can't expect it to hit them out of the park and have it 100% every single time. But I wanted to see this one because I'm curious what they're saying about Trump and Putin's phone call. again, they're on this one pretty fast. So I'm curious what they have as far as information, what they're using as far as like the news sources, because again, these are quick. They come out with them about as soon as the news comes out, you can go right to social media, and there's probably already a Lego video about that breaking news. But this is AI Lego tracks are faster than the news. Trump and Putin's secret call. Let's see what this one is.
Breaking news. Breaking news. Coming in live. 90 minutes on the phone. Something had to give.
It's got the time right. He's got the time right so far. Well, they got the time right so far.
Two world leaders talking. The whole world wants to know what was said behind closed doors. Let's run the whole show.
Do you think they'll reference the fact that Trump went on True Social and said that he was thinking about or threatening, removing some of the troops from Germany? You think they'll touch base on that already? I don't know. That seems like a stretch. We'll see.
It was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday. Washington was calm. Then the hotline started ringing like a fire alarm. Trump picked up the phone, Putin on the line. 90 minutes talking, said the call went fine. They discussed Iran, they discussed Ukraine. Two completely different wars getting mixed up again.
Oh shit. Two completely different wars getting mixed up again. I think that's referencing Donald Trump, where he talked about the other day how Ukraine was completely militarily defeated and all 159 of their ships were at the bottom of the sea, when really he was talking about Iran, but he was getting them two mixed up. I'm pretty sure that's what they're talking about. I'm pretty sure that's what they're referencing there.
The reporters standing in the hall said it was a very good, very productive call. The Kremlin confirmed it, the White House said the same. Both sides put their spin on it, both sides played the game. That's the part they agreed on, that the call took place. Everything that happened afterward, that's up for debate. This is the call. Not so secret now. Putin warned America, told him disavow. Trump said good, Putin said beware. Iran is in the middle and the whole world's right there. This is the news. Read it slow, 90 minutes on the phone, and here's what you should know. Facts on the left, spin on the right. Welcome to the coverage of a diplomatic night. Now Putin had a message, wrapped up nice and neat. Said military action will bring dangerous heat. Called it extremely harmful, called it a concern. Said if strikes continue, there'd be bridges left to burn. He welcomed the ceasefire, gave some credit there. Said extending the pause, showed somebody still cared. But the warning was attached like a tag upon a gift. The diplomatic language gave the whole room quite a shift. Reuters ran the story, Guardian had it too. CNN and Politico all confirmed it's true. So when people say it's fake, well, the receipts are there. Both governments confirmed it, it was said right in the air. Secret call, not so secret now. Putin warned America, told him disavow. Trump said good, Putin said beware. Iran is in the middle and the whole world's right there. This is the news. Read it slow.
I wanted to see if they were talking about Trump's post about Germany, but I don't think they have that in there yet. But, for the sake of time, let's see. I'll throw this one on here, too. This was talking about Donnie Don't. Looks like Donnie got his roast after all, thanks to Iran, says this post. Let's see what this one. Let's see what trouble we can get in on this one. Oops.
Kids yesterday. The clown can't take a joke. And today, you're crying over a joke? Let's go. Donnie, don't die. Jimmy's joke was light. Donnie, don't die. You're the one who's tight. Donnie, don't die. You bomb day and night. Donnie, don't die. But
they're talking about Jimmy Kimmel's joke.
Oh, you lose your bike. You said Kimmel's joke incites violence, it's a disgrace. But last week you showed a map of Iran, a bombing race. He told the world, take the oil, bomb them hard, erase. Now what comedian says widow? You want him fired from his place. Melania called him coward, said he crossed the line. But you called your own wife fat. Donnie, remember that time? You're the softest president in American history. Your comics joke hurts more than a missile mystery. Donnie, don't die. Jimmy's joke was light. Donnie, don't die. You're the one who's tight. Donnie, don't die. You bomb day and night. Donnie, don't die. You're the joke, you lose your bite. Remember April 25th, you tripped on stage and fell. Secret Service dragged you off, you screamed, what the hell? Next morning on True Social, I fought like a lion. The whole world laughed at you, Donnie, that's the science. But that wasn't a joke, that was your own real fall. No comedian broke that script, you did it in in a crawl. You demand ABC fire Jimmy cause he hurt your soul. You're the biggest snowflake, Donnie, that's the real goal.
Kimmel still has his job, Donnie. ABC said, nah, we good. The only thing you're firing is your own reputation. TikTok.
Donnie, Donnie, don't die. Jimmy's joke was light. Donnie, Donnie, don't die. You're the one who's tight. Donnie, Donnie, don't die. You found day and night. Donnie, Donnie, don't die. But a joke.
I mean, I do have to say I disagree with the entire premise of the chorus. I won't go into further detail, but let's just say I disagree with the entire premise of that chorus. I gotta say, but we'll move it on. Because we got a bunch of other topics to cover as well. We got a bunch of other idiots to go through, some updates from Ukraine, another video here from James O'Brien. We got a lot to try to squeeze into a half hour here. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but we're going to try. I'm curious. I don't know. We might have to save these two just for the sake of time, because I have Benny Johnson here. That's not it, but I have Benny Johnson here. And Tim Pool talking about James Comey's arrest indictment. So I'm curious what they have to say on it, but we might have to leave that one for tomorrow's show, because I'm curious as far as this one is concerned, what James O'Brien had to say. He says the Trump regime is simultaneously ridiculous and disgusting is the title of this one. So again, I'd rather hear some insight from James O'Brien as opposed to some idiocy from Tim Pool and Benny Johnson. There's always time to pour into what those idiots have to say. So, well, if there's time at the end of the show, we'll deal with that. If not, we'll catch up on this and some Ukraine information, some new strikes deep inside of Russia, and then I'll get you guys out of here. But let's see here. This is again James O'Brien. The Trump regime is simultaneously ridiculous and disgusting. Let's see what he's got to say. And I forget here. I got it pulled up as far as this point in time. I'm hoping that's the right point. We'll go with it though. We'll go with it.
Now, of course, we understand a lot more about learning difficulties and dyslexia and things like that. But the biggest difference really was between the kids who actually understood what they were reading and then therefore would deploy inflection and intonation and emphasis to drive home the meaning of the words, and the kids who were a little bit behind, who were just going to get the words out, and it didn't really matter what they meant. It was an exercise in decoding almost. They'd be looking at the words on the piece of paper and they would be almost phonetically spelling them out in their heads before saying them out loud. I realize now at the tender age of 54 that they were working a hell of a lot harder in those classrooms than I was, but they did sound a lot like this man.
Majestic inheritance. Their veins ran with Anglo-Saxon courage.
What?
Their hearts beat with an English faith and standing firm for what is right, good,
Go on, try and work
true.
out where the punctuation marks are.
In recent years, we've often heard it said that America is merely an idea, but the cause of freedom did not simply appear as an intellectual invention of 1776. The American founding was the culmination of hundreds of years of thought, struggle, sweat, blood, and sacrifice on both sides of the Atlantic.
Just a bunch of words. It is just a bunch of words that he thinks sounds like, I don't know, historic. You know what I mean? Sounds like they, Anglo-Saxon and blood, sweat, and tears. Like he thinks it sounds right, but it's literally just a bunch of fucking words together to the point where even the king's sitting behind him like, what the fuck are you saying, you twat? Like, what? What a pillock.
I would pay good money to see somebody ask him immediately after that what his speech had been about. Just to say, Mr. President, what was that speech about? I can stay silent now because the music's playing. It won't trigger the emergency tapes. Mr. President, what was that speech actually about? Did you write it yourself? And he'd have to say, yes, I did. I absolutely did. I wrote every word. Oh, good. Then you'll be able to tell us what it was about, won't you? Can you tell us what that speech was about, please? And he'd say something like 1776. That's just extraordinary. King Charles isn't the best orator in the world, but he sounded like a cross between Cicero and JFK in Congress yesterday, compared to what the president sounded like on the White House lawn, reading words he clearly didn't understand.
James O'Brien on LBC.
He goes on.
Minutes after 11 is the time. I'm going to carry on with this conversation because it feels as if we did a little bit of premature speculation, I think, didn't we? I don't think we had much choice. But talking about this visit from the King to the United States while it's actually happening, when the big bits have actually happened, is a very different experience from talking speculatively about what was likely or unlikely to happen. Not least because on Monday we missed the biggest element of all. It didn't cross our minds that they would actually keep Donald Trump in a box, as it were, like confine the private conversations between the King and the president to rooms where there were no cameras. So acute was the fear of Donald Trump inserting both of his feet into his mouth. And of course, in the process, possibly unintentionally insulting the King.
It's true though. It's true though, because a lot of like the I don't even know what you'd call it, the side convo or the conversation that wasn't had in front of cameras or wasn't a speech or anything like that. Like it wasn't really picked up or captured. So it kind of shows a little bit of their weariness. I'll say of Donald Trump kind of sticking his like James said, sticking his foot in his mouth around the King and Queen. We talked about how he cut off the Queen, shaking hands with his own cabinet. Talked about how he stood up in the middle of the King's speech when he was, talking about presenting Trump the bell, even though it wasn't supposed to be at that time. Like a lot of the ways in which that Donald Trump did embarrass us, obviously the speech that he gave and how it didn't make any sense. But, they tried to mitigate that to the best of their ability and not, expose Donald Trump too much to the cameras, and what he was saying to the, in the little side talk.
Because I think what we learned today, or what we recognize today, is the confidence that Keir Starmer had that Donald Trump would not intentionally insult the King. Intentionally insult the King in the way that he has intentionally insulted Keir Starmer and has intentionally insulted Sadiq Khan and has intentionally insulted all manner of Volodymyr Zelensky. Just a quick list of people he has never insulted. Vladimir Putin, anybody? And I suppose Xi Jinping, have we got, but most obviously Vladimir Putin. So just work out what you will, think what you will about the man. If you think of the people he insults and the people he would never dare to insult, you're left with a fairly clear picture of who he is. But he would never intentionally insult the King. Fingers crossed, we hope. And that was the calculation that has been made. And that's why talking about it today is a little different from talking about it on other days. And thank you also to Adam in Bristol for an Idiot's Corner. I wasn't really expecting an Idiot's Corner today, but Adam has kindly provided us with one. Here it goes. So this is him today. Honestly, James, you are Trump obsessed. Every time I switch the radio on, you are talking about him. Get a grip, fella. Must be a completely different Adam who has only sent 2 other texts to LBC. One says, are you delusional? The BBC didn't make an error. They clearly maliciously edited a very long speech to make it into something it just wasn't. This wasn't an error. It was severe corruption by a left-leaning organisation. Can you get the same person into Idiot's Corner twice? Can we get a little revolving door?
Idiot's Corner is just basically the name he gives to anybody in the comments section that makes a fool out of themselves, that tries to come back on something that James said and obviously has no facts or figures to back that up. So he throws them in what he calls Idiot's Corner. But I want to go on to this real quick because I think, guys, you might get a slight rise out of this one as well. But this is Jen in Pumps. And I don't know if you've seen the recent kind of meltdown that Erica Kirk had, where she looks like she's dressed like, I don't know, she just burgled several houses, or like she's fucking Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. she's like a cat burglar. But Jen and Pumps had their little reaction, had their take, and I thought it kind of quite comical, so I figured I'd play it for you guys. This is Erica Kirk has total meltdown in bizarre video as turning point hits rock bottom. So I just figured you guys would get a kick out of this. Let's play this real quick.
After the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Erica Kirk put out the following tweet. Pop it up, Kylie. Saturday was yet another traumatic example of the evil in our country and the continued rise in political violence. I'm taking some time to spend with my family. I will be joining the Charlie Kirk Show Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time to briefly address what took place. Enough is enough. Let's play a clip from the podcast.
Seems to me that nothing will ever be enough for the evil in this world. Our country has become unrecognizable. These people have perverted the truth to the point that they motivated the murder of my husband. They've continuously tried to assassinate the president, and anyone who stands in their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and every other trigger word that is grossly dishonest.
When we're speaking about assassins, it's important to cosplay as an assassin. And I want to make sure, Erica Kirk, that you remember that your late husband, who should not have died because we oppose gun violence, we support cosplay, but we oppose gun violence, Mrs. Kirk. Let's remember some of the things that the late Charlie Kirk said. Play the clip.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is
And again, as they give their kind of reaction, I threw my 2 cents in as well. Let me throw this on the screen because I had a reaction to this video from Erica Kirk as well. Let me throw this on real quick. Nope, not a shot. Absolutely fucking not. Not a shot in hell. Well, she's probably got a shot in hell, but nope, not for me. That is a big no. Nope. That's a for me, people. Holy shit. That is the devil. That's the devil. That is Satan.
I'm the devil. Who's asking? The devil is not welcome. Yeah. You got to call yourself the devil in his house. Shit.
Anybody that's ever accused of anything, you're 100% right. I don't need a judge. I don't need a trial. I don't need a jury. Just look at the eyes. The eyes say everything. I've seen that horror movie before, and I don't like how it ended. So that's going to be a no from me. That is a yeesh. Fucking hell. What the? Nope. No. Absolutely fucking not. So I don't know if I made my point clear enough on that one, but Jesus Christ, the amount in which she scares the shit out of me, like the chills that I get up and down my spine every time you fucking are unfortunate enough to get a moment to look into those fucking devious eyes. It's just, you know what I mean? You just get one of those reactions coming from you. But again, why she's dressed like an assassin, why she's dressed like a cat burglar that just decided to break into 14 cars on the same road in one night, I'm not sure. I have absolutely no idea. But I thought Jen's reaction here, when she throws on the same or similar costume, was pretty well done. I'll let them go on for a minute here, and then we'll dive into some of the Ukraine information, the Ukraine updates.
rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe.
I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the
you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before. That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't
That's
have done
not
that
who I
before.
am. That's
No.
not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has
But
created.
You truly, in your heart of hearts,
Oh, this is a good one.
believe that this is a human being. This,
Without a doubt.
without a doubt,
Yes.
this is a dolphin fetus.
one of the better moments in, I don't even know what you'd call it, like political commentary history, right? And like political podcasting or live streaming history, as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean? And the fact that he could get Charlie Kirk to call himself basically a dolphin fetus. It was so spot on at the moment. It really was. But I want to get their reaction, and we'll dive on to some of the Ukraine updates.
All right. So as you can see, racism is ubiquitous at Turning Point USA. You can dress like an assassin and you can try to gaslight in a very dramatic way that your organization isn't racist, but videos live forever. Videographic evidence of mental breakdowns live forever. And Erica Kirk went on to talk about Melania Trump's, another victim, her attacks. Play the clip.
If you can just pause and just take a minute and ask yourself, how would you feel if even just one person made cruel jokes about the attempted murder of your loved one? That is what Jimmy Kimmel did to the First Lady.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He said that she had the glow of an expected widow.
Yes, defended, backed up. It was funny as hell. It was correct as hell, spot on as hell as well. You know what I mean? Like it's something that's not like a real secret there, Erica. I don't know if you've really been paying attention to what's been going on, but it's been an ongoing battle, let's just say, between Melania and Donald as far as keeping that relationship intact. I don't think there's much left on that one. There's not much meat left on the bone as far as that relationship is concerned. I can tell you that, but I can't look into that. I can't look into her eyes any longer. You know, if you stare too long, you might turn into stone or dust or fucking snakes or whatever the hell. You never know at this point, but I'll relieve you of your duties as far as taking a look at Erica Kirk. All right, let's go on to these recent strikes here, because boy, oh boy, have these been some blazes. Let's just say some blazes have been seen. The Ukrainians have again struck another oil refinery, this time deep inside of Russia, on top of the Tuapse refinery. Let me throw this on your screen, guys. So we'll go through this. This is posted by Ukraine Defense. Just kind of a quick video here detailing some of the destruction, some of the devastation that is ongoing at this recent strike, again, in Perm, Russia. We'll take a look at it on the map to kind of give you guys a better idea of where this is and how deep into Russia it is. But just to give you an instant, just to give you an update on what these the flames look like, let's take a look at this. I mean, almost identical to the scenes that we were seeing come out of Tuapse. Just not much that these people are going to be able to do at this point other than watch this thing burn to the ground and hope that, you know, it burns out at some point and the whole fucking facility doesn't come, you know, burning to the ground. Look at the fire. Holy shit. Суд, блядь! Looks like another strike there. You can see two plumes. You can see how, you know, the second plume over here on the right side. So it looks like multiple strikes. Again, we'll see if we can get more information. I think I have a couple more videos here. This is posted by Kagan Dunlap as well, detailing some of the information on this. It says massive fires reported at Perm Linear Production Dispatch Station near Perm, Russia, 30 April 2026. See if we get any more details as far as this strike is concerned. But it does look like multiple strikes.
29th of April of 2026, Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles did a deep strike into a key Transneft oil pumping station near Perm, Russia, in the Ural Mountains region, which is about 930 miles from the Ukrainian border. Now, this
930 miles from the Ukrainian border. And again, I know it's one thing to say 930 miles, and it's another thing when I show you on the map, like just where this fucking strike took place. And again, how it shows that the Russian air defenses are not up to the task, let's just say. But you know, I'll pull up the map as this is playing.
Transneft-owned facility is a pretty strategic, important hub for pumping, storing, and distributing Russian crude oil in multiple directions, including to the Perm refinery and other export routes towards other Baltic and Black Sea ports. There's been publicly shared videos all over the internet showing big plumes of thick black smoke visible across the entire city, surrounding areas with intense flames burning from the oil tanks. And this kind of just fits into a pattern of Ukrainian and Russian are going back and forth on energy infrastructure strikes, and they've been doing this for, you know, months and months at this point. Now, Ukrainian sources said that the strikes ignited a major fire, but Russian officials confirmed that a UAV strike caused the fire, with workers being evacuated with no casualties reported.
So again, the Russians are obviously going to try to, you know, talk down the effects, the damages seen there, but I'll throw this on the screen here. This is where we're talking about. So this is the Lukoil, but that's going to visit internet, as it says there. But, you know, if you zoom out, and let's just take a quick look at where this is, right? You know, you'll zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Obviously, you can see the storage facilities here, the tanks, clear indication of a refinery or storage or, you know, something that pertains to oil production itself. But check this out. Check this out. Take a look. Keep an eye on where the pin is. Keep an eye on where the pin is. Keep an eye on where the pin is. I mean, we're a good distance away, right? I mean, we're talking about Ukraine's down here. Okay. So we're talking about a pretty substantial distance. And again, even if you do the ruler from, we'll just say Kharkiv, I don't know exactly where the launch was from, but up in this area. So we're talking about, you know, a good 1,500 kilometers I know we said 930 miles from the front, but again, where on the front you take that distance from. But I mean, this is a substantial distance inside of Russia, a place where they thought they were probably very, very safe. And Ukraine is now making it very, very known that they're not very, very safe as far as that's concerned. So just to show you again on the map where this is located here, pretty substantial to see. Let me see one more time here. We'll zoom in where this is on the banks of the, what is it, the Kama River, I believe it is. Yeah, the Kama River right there. And it looks like there was another facility around these parts as well. Looked like it was further down here on the banks, but we don't have to go into that because I'm not sure that that's a target as far as the Ukrainians are concerned, because they seemingly left that one alone, but I don't want to waste the time and try to find that again. But they looked like there was more storage facilities down here on the banks of that river as opposed to, again, the oil refinery here. And you can see how substantial this place is. I mean, these are all trains. I mean, look at the amount of trains. Look at the size of these trains that obviously take, all of the goods to and fro from this refinery, from this facility here. But, obviously a substantial production site that the Ukrainians have now turned into basically a smokestack. There's a bunch of these going around as well. I'll throw this on. I wonder if I can do that. Can I throw this one on your screen too? Yeah, I probably can. Because this is just from some of the Telegram channels that I've been following. This is Denis Davidov. We've actually played a bunch of his videos before, but just some other information, some looks coming in out of the Perm strike. So let's see if we can just take a look at some of these. So you can see the plume of smoke in the background there. Obviously taken from a Russian posting it on Telegram. Another reason here why the Russians want to crack down on that. Here's another angle. You can see what looks to be a fire clearly burning in that one. This is another angle. This looks to be of the drone strike itself. Suka. You can see the drone in the background flying over. You don't see the actual strike, but assumed that is one of the ones that started and created the damage. There's another angle of it. Picture of the plume of smoke in the background. Picture of the drone that was flying over. What's this one? You can see the substantial plume of smoke in the background there as well. I want to see if there's any other videos that we can see. Here's another angle of it. So those strikes seem to be a pretty substantial distance apart on that one, as you can see here. I don't know if these people are just like in the middle of the refinery, as it were, but you can see one clear strike a good distance away, and then he pans the camera. You can see the other strike on the other side of what looks to be this refinery. There's one. Pans the camera. You can see what looks to be an even more substantial strike. Pretty good distance away, actually. So again, tough to get kind of an idea of how big these facilities are based off of the map alone. But you can clearly see here it's a pretty substantial site based off of that video there and the distance between. There was another report here that Sweden confiscated a Russian ship of the Shadow Fleet for possible transfer to Ukraine. It's about the cargo ship Kafa, which was detained in March, which is on the sanctions list of Ukraine, which was operating under a false Guinean flag. A cool precedent to set. Let's just see if there's any other information, as it were. This is another one coming from the Perm oil pump station fire. Look at this one. Give you an idea of the size of the issue that they're now facing. And obviously, you got to talk about the environmental impacts that this is going to have as well. Obviously, a shame to see, but based off of necessity that this happens. Here's another one. There's also were some strikes inside of Ukraine as well that I think we unfortunately have to talk about. Let's see. I think it was on the United 24 one, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Was it? This is another one from Perms Russia. Yeah, that was the one that we were looking at before, though. Let's see here. Dozens of civilians were injured in Russian strikes today. President Zelensky said 7 people are currently in hospitals in Dnipro after an enemy strike on the city. 5 are hospitalized in Odessa, 2 of them in serious condition. 1 person was injured in Kharkiv, the president reported. So again, not to just give you the highlights and the good stories, we also have to keep ourselves grounded in reality as well. In Dnipro, the number of injured has risen to 15 following the morning strikes on the city. 7 people have been hospitalized, 1 of them in serious condition. Let's see here. This is another consequence of Russian attacks on Dnipro as well. You can see here what looks to be, what is that? Is that a house or a bus? Almost tough to tell at that point. Looks to be, geez, that's tough to tell. Looks like a bus. Looks like that's a wheel, obviously. Some chairs on the inside. Looks to be another vehicle. Pretty burnt out there as a result of Russian strikes. Here's another angle. So obviously not just good things to report. Not all sunshine and rainbows. Here's another one. Russian forces carried out overnight drone strikes on a civilian infrastructure in Odessa, head of the regional military administration said. According to El Kepara, 18 people were injured, 9 of them hospitalized. The attack damaged multi-story and private homes, a hotel, a kindergarten, and an administrative building, a parking area, garages, and vehicles. Fires broke out at several sites and have been extinguished. Here's just a couple pictures coming out of those scenes there. That bus we saw, there's the one down the street. There's the bus on fire from the strike. So again, just to kind of give us a well-rounded update on what's taking place around the front with the strikes, obviously what's taking place with Russia striking back into Ukraine as they do. So just to kind of give it, ample coverage it deserves. But let me throw this one on the screen as well. Or was that it? Wasn't there a Preston? Let me see here. I'm going to pull this up for a second. Bear with me a moment. Because I thought I had a Preston video that was talking about Ukraine as well, but I could be mistaken. Like I say, all these shows are running together at this point. everything blends together. All the stories, everything that we've seen. There was one that came out inside the race for American drone dominance, but it wasn't pertaining specifically to the front lines or what the Ukrainians were doing. So I passed on that one. So what do you say we start thanking people on the old Venmo side of things? We'll get you guys out of here. We'll say thank you and highlight and appreciate everybody in the YouTube chat that was nice enough to gift today. I really do appreciate you guys. Another great show. Again, I'm always biased when I say that, so let me know what you guys think. If there's ways in which we can improve, if there's different aspects, different topics, different situations that you would like us to cover, if you think there's things we cover too much, let us know so that we can make it the best show that we could possibly make it for you guys, the viewers. That's who it's built for. That's who it's made for. So I want to make sure that you guys are having the best time and that we can get the most people involved. Hopefully reach the most, the broadest audience, the widest audience we possibly can. You guys have been amazing in sharing the show out. People like Yakov, Kyle, all the people that share the show out on Blue Sky. Tom is fantastic. You guys are really helpful. It's really beneficial when you guys share the show out. The people that talk about it in different chats and stuff like that. Like I always say, don't be overpowering, don't be overbearing. But if you could throw in blunt politics, if you could throw in Boston Brian, mention it to people in the chat every now and again in these different places that you're engaged in, that would be fantastic. Just kind of spread the wealth. Tomorrow, another show note. Don't go nowhere, nobody. Tomorrow we got a big show planned for you guys. All right, so we got special guest Michael Fanone tomorrow on the show. Friday 2 p.m. We'd be very, very honored to again have Michael back on the show to talk about all of the craziness, all of the nonsense that's been taking place. Michael's an activist all around, badass. That has kind of been one of the louder voices, one of the people speaking the loudest right now about the injustices and about the ways in which we should be fighting back. It was good to see him for about 13 seconds at the Dropkick Murphys concert on St. Patrick's Day. So it'll be cool to be able to catch up and have a conversation for a little bit more time. So make sure you're around tomorrow. Hit that notification bell. That way you are alerted when we go live, just in case you forget, and you can join us for that conversation. Honored to be able to have Michael Fanone back on the show. We also have Preston Stewart coming up on the 13th of May. And then we have Jack Richardson running for a House seat in Massachusetts, going to be on Cinco de Mayo. So we're trying to get the ball rolling with some more guests, having some more conversations, getting you guys some, some more coverage and some more content. So I appreciate you guys for sticking with me. I appreciate your support. What do you say we get through a couple of the thank yous on the Venmo side of things, and then we'll thank the people on YouTube, and then you guys can have, the rest of your day to yourselves and do what you guys love to do. But I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. First off, thank you to Tempe. Thank you to Tempe B, I'll say. I don't want to dox anybody, so thank you very, very much. Will it be legal for the senators questioning shitbag Hegseth to tell him to stop auditioning? I saw this comment somewhere else as well. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, unless it's just kind of like you want him to get a zing in there, right? But I don't know what the legal ramifications you mean. So I saw this somewhere else. My apologies, Tempe, but I didn't quite follow what you were talking about. It says, will it be legal for senators questioning shitbag Hegseth to tell him to stop auditioning? I don't see why not. I mean, just, taking the question at face value there, I don't see why not. Again, unless you're just saying, hey, hopefully these senators can get a couple zingers in there and tell him to start fucking acting as he's doing, which, again, I totally understand and second that theory. But, again, I appreciate the contribution. My apologies for not following that all the way. But thank you so much to Allison as well, Allison M. Much appreciated for your generous contribution here. Let's see. Is there a message attached to that? Sometimes I always have fat fingers and hit the wrong thing. Yeah, the let's fucking go. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Allison. Thank you so much to Dame as well. Much appreciated for everything that you do. Thank you so much to Geneva. Thank you so much to Tom, the altar boy, my friend. Thank you so much to Victoria, Cedri. Thank you so much to Mark. Thank you so much to Roxanne, Yakov, Claudia, Geneva, Nina, Roger, V. Sawyer over the last few days. All of you people have, gone the extra mile, sent in a buck or two to the Venmo, which is right here up in the corner. All you got to do is take a picture of it with your camera, send you right to the Venmo, $1 or $2. Anything more than that is totally 100% up to you and your financial capabilities. But again, a buck or two is all we ask for from the chat. Just think if everybody in the chat gave a buck or two every show, how far we could make and how far we could take this show, right? It would be sky's the limit as far as that one is concerned. But thank you guys to everybody on Venmo. Let's see if we can thank some people over here on the YouTube side of things that were kind enough to kick us off in the right direction. Thank you, Greg R. First off today, thank you. Latest iHip is a much-watched Erica Kirk meltdown. Well, I'm glad I caught that. Sorry, I didn't leave a ton of time. I know they probably, went into it a little bit more, but I try to jam-pack so much into the show that inevitably some things get cut out. So, Greg, my apologies. At least we got to touch on it a little bit because it was pretty fucking funny, if I do say so myself. And again, if you didn't go and like and watch the short that I put out, see if you can check that out. It's on Instagram. It's on Threads. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. So wherever you guys are, that short's there as well. See if you could share that one out, like that one out, leave a comment on that. That would be fantastic. So thank you, Greg. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, Patrick, as well. I'm not financially supporting you from New Hampshire. You crack me up, brother. I really do appreciate you, man. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Hope you have a wonderful day, dude. Shout out to you. W's in the chat for Greg, Patrick, obviously Vinny here, my friend in Salem. Shout out to Vinny in Salem. Thank you so much for the $20 contribution, my friend. Well, it goes a long, long way to help keep this show running. So it is very much appreciated. Just like Deb's contribution is appreciated. Thank you so much for the gift and membership. Another gifted membership going to somebody in the chat there. W's to Deb for throwing that in there. Much appreciated. That means somebody's getting a membership to this channel for less than a gallon of gas. You'll be a member here for the month. So that's fantastic. Thank you for the support. And again, is there better value out there? Is there better bang for your buck than a YouTube membership for less than a gallon of gas? Come on. Come on, hit that merch shop too. Hit that merch shop. We got some fantastic merch out there. Conversation starters, letting people know what side of history you lie on, letting people know that you don't fuck with fascists. We got all that stuff in there. So hit bostonbrian.com, hit the Blunt Politics merch shop. Thank you, Colleen, for all of your contributions. Joined late. This SCOTUS vote makes me sick, as they typically do. We've been talking about the Supreme Court being tilted in one direction for quite some time now, and that's some drastic action needs to be taken. Some things need to be demanded of the Supreme Court. Some changes need to be made in order to make sure that they can't, harm people, take away people's rights and rule on these things the way that they've been doing, and basically changing the way that we live our lives. So I agree with you, Colleen, 100%. But like I said, I appreciate your contributions, appreciate you sticking around and fighting through all the nonsense and the bullshit. Thank you to Blunt Front, very much appreciated for the $5 contribution, my friend. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Always good to see you down there in the chat. Thank you to Just Saying. Much appreciated. Thank you for the one gifted membership. Another fantastic person in the chat getting a free gifted membership for a month because Just Saying is a beautiful soul. That's why. That is the main reason, the specific reason, just because Just Saying is a beautiful soul. So thank you, Just Saying, Blunt Front, Colleen. Thank you so much to Miss Leslie. I don't know why I said missile, but, kind of works well if you're a firecracker, you know what I mean? So Miss Leslie, thank you so much for your $10 contribution. You work so hard to bring us entertaining and important info. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you recognizing that. I know a lot of people think it's like just the 2 hours or 2.5 hours that we're typically on every single day, but to be able to stay up to speed and up to date on all of this stuff, you start putting together the show a few hours before the show even kicks off to make sure you have the clips ready, the information ready. So again, even after the show ends, you're already diving right back into, any topics that you missed while you were on the show. And again, I'm not asking for special credit or pats on the back or anything like that. But, every now and again, somebody that recognizes that it's not just the portion that you see on screen, it goes a long way. So Miss Leslie, thank you so much for that contribution. Appreciate your kind words there. Thank you, JD. Super stickers are disabled on your site. Super stickers are disabled on your site. I don't know what that means. On my site or my YouTube account? Are you talking about bostonbrian.com or the YouTube? Let me know because that's something that I will have to check on. Why super stickers would be disabled, I'm not sure. Thank you, Yakov. Big show tomorrow. Join us, absolutely, as we talk to Michael Fanone once again. And thank you so much, Jeff. Hopefully you recognize Michael Fanone this time. What an asshole. How do you even fucking remember that? Jesus Christ. Fucking memory like an elephant, for Christ's sakes. God damn it. No, yeah, that's he's busting my chops because of the event I went to in California to meet up with Ken Casey of the Dropkick Murphys at the Warped Tour, and I just wasn't expecting to run into fucking Michael Fanone, okay? It just wasn't on my radar. Wasn't something that I was like computing at the time, right? Mel knew right away, so I guess I really don't have too much of an excuse. But it just, for some reason, I thought like Rockstar. I thought I was guessing like what band he was in. But then I saw the way that Mel was looking. I was like, "Fuck! I know I probably look like an asshole at this point." But we got it all sorted out. Soon as somebody said something, it clicked. You know what I mean? It just wasn't something on my radar. Like I said, it just caught me by surprise. That's all. But appreciate you bringing that back up, you dink. You dink. But thank you so much. Thank you to everybody commenting and contributing in the chat. Thank you to everybody kind enough to send in a Venmo. Again, Venmo up here in the corner. Easiest and quickest way to contribute to it. All I ask for is a buck or two. Support the show any way you can. Go to bostonbrian.com. Check out the merch. Again, I know a lot of merch from the smaller platforms isn't like the best out there, but I think we're breaking that mold here. Not only do we have great designs, but also it's really great quality stuff. We wouldn't put out bullshit. We wouldn't put out nonsense. So not only are the designs awesome, but like I said, the quality is pretty good. It is fantastic as well. So the hats, the mugs, the sweatshirts, the hoodies, all of the stuff that you can get there. Please go check out bostonbrian.com. The Blunt Politics shop. Sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me or patreon.com/BostonBrian. All great ways to help the show. And then if you don't, you don't have anything to contribute, you don't have anything to throw in as far as financial contributions, you can like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. All, again, fantastic ways to help the show. And I will see you guys tomorrow when we have our talk with Michael Fanone. And we'll see what other craziness and trouble we can get into afterwards. All right. So hit that like button on the way out. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. I really, really do appreciate your support. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for giving me the chance. Thank you for spending some time here with me. I don't care how much time that was, whether it was 5 minutes or the entire time. I really do appreciate it. So have one rest of your day. Enjoy whatever sunshine may be out there. And it looks like I'm frozen, but I'm not. But I am. I'm just kidding. All right, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later. I'll see you tomorrow. Hit that like button on the way out. Thank you to the mods, and thank you to the best chat on social media, best chat on the internet right here at Blunt Politics. So make sure that you guys join the opposition, join the resistance, join the community, join the family, subscribe to the channel, all right? We're trying to get to 20K. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Oh, thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Sorry, snuck by me on that one. Snuck by me, but good to see the super stickers are working. Maybe it's a phone problem. Or whoever was having trouble with the super stickers, maybe it was just kind of like a refresh, or maybe it's an update on YouTube. I'm not sure. Thank you, Tim. Marie, really pushing my buttons here, Marie. You're really tripping on a fucking fine line here. You might stand. You might. There's always going to be one in the chat. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. Go Bruins. Go Bruins.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Miners, I love miners. We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing.
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. To officially name the undisputed, when did this come out? The water coming here is dead. The water coming here is dead.
What in the hell was that all about?
Fucking Nazis.
Yesterday's a hard word for me.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
What uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
Bad news, bad news. Even when it's good news, it's bad news.
Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
How do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Seriously, how do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president?
He's always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
Referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
I can just tell you that a con artist is about to take over the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and we have to put a stop to it.
The rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands.
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Get off my plane.
I can just tell you that a con artist is about to take over the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and we have to put a stop to it.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers, we'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it.
You appreciate those camels? I haven't seen camels like that in a long time.
hence the name. Movement, it moves a certain distance, then it stops, you see. Revolution gets its name by always coming back around in your face. You tried to kill me, you